So I just watched a new movie for the first time in a very long time. Just recently came out, and I want to talk about it because I've got a different take than everyone else. Let's get into it. So I just recently watched the movie Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. I watched it last night and then I watched it again this morning prepping for this, and I must say, not a bad film. It does have its flaws, granted, but for a new film that's trying to do its own thing, it does pretty good, and I'm going to get into that. The film is a sci-fi fantasy film. It's set on this distant planetary moon orbiting some sort of gas giant. Right away, it pulls you in. It has a pre-roll setup, voiceover, it has nice visuals at the beginning. It even has Sir Anthony Hopkins narrating, which you know it's Sir Anthony Hopkins right off the bat. It leaves you with enough setting and enough detail about what's going on to want more. The visuals stand out, especially the warp design. The ship looks like a submarine in space almost. The only downside is the heavy lens flaring. I'm not a big fan of lens flaring, although I get why people put it in, and I get it, but it's not a big fan. I do think it distracts from the overall visual, but still, after the title, you get a little bit of a slowdown. You get the introduction of the farm planet and this nice visual of the gas giant that they're orbiting. Although I'm not quite sure how the physics of this story work, because it seems like this moon, this planet, this moon is orbiting really close to the gas giant, as well as another moon in the background, as well as another moon off to. It just looks like went small on the details as far as the physics is concerned, because these planets seem to be orbiting way too close to each other. There's another scene later on where there's two planets orbiting each other, and I'm like, wouldn't they just crash into each other? Like I said, it's flawed, but it's still a good story overall. I'm ranking this movie on 5 categories: story, acting, visuals, music, and world building. So let's get into it. The first is story. Overall, the story itself is amazing. It's nothing new. It's your typical sci-fi story, reluctant hero with an unknown past, but it's done well. It's set up well in the beginning. All the breadcrumbs are there. You've got the character building between Cora, between Gunnar, between Atticus Noble. You really grow to hate him. He's such just a well done, like over the top villain. Belisarius is another one that you get to know through backstory and through the other characters talking about him. Kai, Charlie Hunnam's character, good lord, was that an interesting character to see go from one end of the spectrum to the other. But yeah, overall, I thought the story was really good. Again, it is a story being told for the first time. Now, I have read that this was originally supposed to be a Star Wars film, but it was turned down by Disney, and so Zack Snyder pretty much got approached by Netflix, and this is what we got. I do like the fact that it's its own thing. It's its own original thing. It's trying to build its own original universe, which I like. Which we all know, being sci-fi fans, geeks, nerds, nothing is ever 100% truly original. I mean, everything's inspired by everything else. There's a few downsides to the story, which can be, accounted for in sequels, is, the Nazism that is so prevalent, the Nazi trope. But as I watched it the second time, I realized that it does have shades of Nazis at the beginning, but the more you watch of it, you come to find out that it's not really mirroring the Nazi Empire, it's mirroring the Roman Empire. As you go on, there's a flashback scene with the king that was assassinated, played surprisingly by Carrie Elwes, from The Princess Bride in the Saw film, looking damn near like Julius Caesar. So it was at that moment on the second view, I was like, wait, this is Roman space. This is not Nazis. We see this trope all the time. It's actually a trope that's prevalent throughout history. The Nazis didn't lay claim to fascism. Totalitarianism has been around since the dawn of man. One person trying to take command of everything. It's in the very nature of being a royal, of the divinity of kings, if you know anything about history. I guess you know, being in 2023, that's the first thing we think of is the Nazis when it comes to totalitarianism and fascism. Imperialism is more what they're trying to get at, the downsides of imperialism. When you watch this movie, think of ancient Rome, don't think Nazis. It does a good job of setting up some character threads, you know, with Cora, you know, love being a weakness. Can she ever love again? One of the other threads that I can think of is between Gunnar and Sindri. Sindri has that leader mentality of having to be a leader and think of everyone and for the village. Meanwhile, Gunnar has this mentality of only caring about money and only caring about, you know, the material gains that they can get without thinking about the long-term repercussion. He's only thinking about the micro when a leader has to think about the macro. So it's going to be interesting to see if he evolves over that as well. And there's just little threads like that throughout the film with every character if you pay attention. Overall, story for me is a 7 out of 10. It does have its flaws, it does have its issues, but nothing that can't be corrected with the second, third, or fourth installment. Now, acting. We've got Sofia Boutella, who was in Star Trek 3, the new Star Trek 3. You got Digimon Hunson as Titus, Ed Skrein as Atticus, Charlie Hunnam. Oh my God, Charlie freaking Hunnam, man. Off the bat, he kind of gives you kind of Han Solo vibes a little bit. And then you got Sir Anthony Hopkins, and there's several different actors throughout the way. But these are just the big ones that I have listed. But overall, the acting, they make you care about these characters. I think Sophia does a great job in balancing, you know, the warrior inside the character versus the held back emotion that wants to get out of the character. She plays well off the other actors, and other actors play well off of her, and it's just such an intriguingly well acted movie, in my humble opinion. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it's still good, intriguing, holds you by the edge of your seat. So overall, the acting for me is a 9 out of 10. Not perfect, but great. Visuals. The visuals here were overall good. Lens flares aside, it was beautifully done. There was questionable blurring choices around the edges of the picture. It kind of took me out a little bit. It distorts the quality of the picture, in my humble opinion. The slow-mo where it works is amazing. But outside of that, it becomes redundant. For example, there's the fight scene in the bar. It happens essentially right after a fight in the barn on the farm where we see Cora fight for the first time. Now, in the barn, the slow-mo makes absolute sense and it's well done. In the bar, it's just overdone. That soon after, just show me the fight. I don't need to see it in slow motion. Just show me the fight. Let me see how badass she is in real time. And then it just becomes repetitive, in my humble opinion. It doesn't need to be done in every single scene. Lens flaring, slow-mo, and the blurring makes the visuals in this movie 7 out of 10. Now, music. The music in this movie was good. It was okay. Didn't stand out in certain scenes. I was like, ooh, the music is actually on point here. But overall, it wasn't memorable. This is a very visual film. Overall, the music is a 7 out of 10. World building. The world building in this film is there. There's lore to be picked up on a second, third rewatch. Again, not perfect, but it's there. It's a good story. I think there's some things they can improve on. I think there's some things they can cut out. I think there's some things that they can refine. For example, I want to know how the robots have feelings. I want to know more about what happened before the Empire went out. I want to know more about this whole Mother World thing. But that's what a good movie does. It makes you want to know more. So world building for me is absolutely an 8 out of 10. Not perfect, not horrible, pretty good. So, what do I rate this film overall? Is it rewatchable? Abso-freaking-lutely. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. It's definitely a lot more entertaining than I gave it credit for. And given the fact that I didn't really have any expectations going into this movie, to say that I was really surprised by how enjoyable, entertaining, and how much I got sucked in this film, it was. Take it for what it's worth. But it was a good film. I did enjoy it. I will watch the other ones when they come out. I'll probably watch it again to catch some more stuff. So I would highly recommend it to anyone for at least a first viewing to get your own opinion. Overall, I give the movie itself a 7.5 out of 10. Anyway, that's my thoughts. You might hear some other reviewers crashing on this movie. I know, for example, I watched one from Angry Joe and they were just ripping this movie apart. I used to like Angry Joe. I still kind of do, but I get the feeling he's just being an edgelord nowadays. Maybe he's not. Maybe that's how he truly feels. I don't know. I don't see how you can watch this movie and not enjoy it. Joe, don't come at me. Don't demonetize my channel. I still do like what you do, man. I can't agree with your opinion on the movie. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll have a conversation, but be respectful, or I'll come back at you. If you watch any of my other videos, you know I will. Until next time, y'all, happy viewing, and have a good one.